Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. It is another edition of Recruiting Intel, and this edition is clear of official visits. We're not previewing, we're not really reviewing a ton, but all the official visits are over. We'll go into what this step of the process looks like for recruits, also what some of the decisions upcoming and maybe in a few months might be for the Longhorns with some top prospects. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also, if you're on the podcast, make sure you give us a 5-star rating and review. Head to InsideTexas.com, use a promo code IT1, get you 2 months of Inside Texas access for just $1. Justin, we've survived official visit weekends. The staff has survived official visit weekends. We're in a dead period until, the last week of July. And we may see some action with players visiting for a pool party that Texas has done in years past. But right now, this is the time of year when players who want to make a decision before their senior season and after official visits go home, sit down with their family, and try to figure out what's best for them. What are some of those conversations like? And what are some of the important things that are discussed at the kitchen table?
Yeah, since we've changed with the early signing period and the new official visits windows and things of that sort, the June OVs have been like the big official visits for this class, and then the July August have been the kitchen table discussions because these kids know they want to get a spot. The closer you get to signing day, the more teams are going to start looking at the portal. They're going to start looking for in different directions, and so guys know that they need to get their spot at this point. They're going to sit down and they're going to. I mean, a lot of them ask, would you enjoy going to this school if you didn't play football? Like, that's a big question because, football isn't the only thing in these guys' lives. And they have to find some substance outside of that, to complete themselves. And so I feel like that's a big question, a big factor. You got to look in mom and dad's eyes and tell them if you're about to go far away or not. Like, how are you ready to make that journey? Are you ready to go 2 hours away? Are you ready to go 6 hours in a car away? Or, maybe 4 hours on a flight away? Like, those are, I think, big discussions as well. And so, but namely, a lot of these guys are enrolling early. That seems to be the biggest trend, especially with SART targets. And that being said, I think that they want to get it done. They want to have finality. Each one of them will tell you, I want to feel it in my heart. I want to just know, I'll just know where I'm there. I just want to know that. They want to get this stuff in the rear view mirror. Like DeCorian Moore, his mom, August 13th. You can do it before, but you can't do it after because you start school and I want you to focus on your grades. Like, each one of them have their own little story and their own little subset of factors that are going to make the decision. And so, man, this is important time for these guys. These guys, there's a lot of praying, soul searching, and just really relying on those relationships that these coaches have built up over the last year, 2 years, so on and so forth. Guys, this is a lot. This is serious time for these 17, 18-year-olds over the next few weeks because they really are about to lay it down and figure out what is the best move for them and their family. Compare NIL stuff, compare college programs, compare cities, towns, things of that sort. Man, I know it's stress. This is the stressful part for these guys because you know what's next? Making the phone call to the schools that you don't go to. And trust me, that's the last thing these guys like doing. They have to, but when they finally get that over that hump, they start to really enjoy what they're about to accomplish.
Yeah. Charlie, you've kind of seen this from all aspects. You've been on the high school side. You've obviously been on the college side as well. Yeah. It's a dead period, so they can't get these kids back on campus until the end of July. But what are these coaches, whether they be head coaches, position coaches, staffers, what are they trying to do during this time when they know that all the information that they've given to the families is being poured over at the kitchen table.
Yeah, as a staff, you're just really hoping that everything you've done over the past few years and months and bringing them on campus was enough, right? It's like, hey, who do we feel good about, right? They're going to get around the meeting table and really talk about who they feel good about landing. And a lot of times you get coaches trying to land these kids before they go to dead period. That way you don't have to worry about it. But sometimes, you get those couple of recruits still hanging on trying to make a decision. So you just really hope that all the work you put in, you and your staff has put in, is really going to pay off and you get a chance to get this kid's commitment. So that's the main thing that's happening. For being on the other side of the high school coach, you're just trying to help make a decision, help the kid make a decision if you can. If he trusts you to be in his circle, you're like, hey, you're just trying to be that support system. Like, hey, what are your pros and cons? Like, write it down. Like, make it so you can see what are your pros and cons of going to this school versus going to that school, right? If it's been on TV every Saturday or in the city, like Justin said, you just see yourself living here outside of football. What's going to be the best academically 40 years down the road versus the next 4 years, right? So it's a lot to weigh in on, and coaches are doing the exact same thing because they need to know how they're going to pivot in case they don't land the guy they've been chasing for the last 2 years, right? That's another thing to worry about, right? Do I need to go in the portal or the third string guy? Okay, hey, we need to get him ready, right? You know what I mean? So it's all those things are kind of going through the coach's head, and it's stressful for them as well, but just on a different aspect from the actual recruit.
Whenever go ahead, Justin.
Just real quick, I had one parent tell me over the last few days this dead period window is her favorite time of the year. She's so excited about this next month of dead period. She's like, we've been waiting for it. I thought that was so funny. But it gives you an idea of the stress level and just everything that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just think about the logistics. We kind of hear from the coaches aspect of it of, all right, this weekend, let's say you're Chris Jackson. You have to be on all the time, talking to Kalik Lockett, talking to Jamie French. Go back a week. You're recruiting. You have to be on all the time, talking to Tanook Hines and Kelshawn Johnson and DeCorian Moore. Go back a week. I can't remember who they may have had on campus at that time, but you're on for them. And even if you don't have guys at your position, you're helping out. Right. At the same time, for these families, they have to be on all the time. And that's why so many different families at this juncture, they're like, let's get this over with. You have to go. Let's say you're someone like Riley Pettijohn and you live in McKinney, Texas. All right, you go to Ohio State. So you go from probably DFW or Love all the way to Columbus. Probably a direct flight. Then the next week, you go from DFW or Love to LAX or Burbank or John Wayne, something like that. Long flight. Have to be on. Learning about that. The next week, you go to Texas. 5-hour drive maybe from McKinney if you're hitting traffic. Bucky stop or two along the way. Not easy. Same thing down to College Station. Head off at Temple or Waco, hit Highway 6. Then you're back. And you have to be on all the time. So, granted, this is college football recruiting. It's the talent building process that's unique to this, at least compared to the NFL, where there's a draft. But at the same time, it kind of has a very, there's a lot of similarities between a regular family going on college tours, going to, let's say you're touring a bunch of Big Ten schools, like you're going to Indiana, Northwestern, Illinois, Notre Dame, Purdue, and you're making that swing. You have to be on for the counselor, on for the admissions people, on for the professors, get in the car. Like, it is a very, glitz and glam operation. They're staying at the Four Seasons. They have Lambos out front. But I think if you kind of go back to maybe if you're watching and you have experience with your kids, or if you're someone who's, going into college right now and remember those college trips, yeah, it's fun, but there's a lot of stress. And granted, you may not have to call and tell a coach no if you're, applying to be a finance major, but you still have to make that difficult decision. And I think that's the real thing that I don't think we should overlook, and I'm glad we don't when we're talking about these decisions. Speaking of decisions, someone who can make things easy for you is Laura Baker. If you're looking for a home in the Central Texas area, she will give you as many options as possible. Find what you're looking for. I think Paul has mentioned that Laura goes from New Braunfels to Temple and Mason to Bastrop. So Central Texas is her specialty. Give her a call at 512-784-0505. She's a member of the elite Andy Allen team, and our own Ian Boyd can attest to how good she is. He now lives just off 183 in the Austin area thanks to her. So give Laura Baker a call, 512-784-0505. Gentlemen, now that we've talked kind of about the process, we got two individual recruitments that we can talk about. One is that of Devin Williams out of Georgia. He is an Auburn commit. This one we left on the cutting room floor. It's an interview from after his official visit at the airport. Let's go to that, about 90 seconds, and we'll break down what it means after that.
The obvious question: where does your commitment stand after this weekend? You have some thinking to do?
I definitely have thinking to do. I'm gonna be back for another game, But this was an amazing weekend. It was so much fun. So yeah, I definitely have some thinking to do.
What made you want to come out here? Already committed? Like, what made you want to see Texas?
It's Texas. Big city, a lot of opportunities. Coach Joseph, me and him have a great relationship. So I just wanted to come see it, and I feel like they have a chance. So, I just wanted to come see it.
Do you know which game you want to come back for already?
No, but I definitely want to come back for a night game because I heard those are crazy. So, yeah, it'll definitely be a night game.
Yeah. Beyond football, what was presented to you about the city, the university, and anything that stood out in that regard?
I heard they told me a lot of, businesses are moving here, like Elon Musk moved his business here. There are a lot of alumni that come back, give back to the players, make connections, make lifelong connections that can get you very fortunate in the future. So, that's what I've heard.
Is it just Texas Auburn, or like where does it kind of stand for your recruitment?
I've narrowed it down to Texas Auburn, so we'll see what happens between those two.
What keeps you happy with Auburn?
I love Coach Khan. He's a great dude. Very very welcoming. I'm committed, so they're gonna show a lot of love. But yeah, I just love Auburn. It's in the backyard, not far from home, but I don't have no problem with being far from home either way. So yeah, that's what's good.
If you're Terry Joseph, a lot of what you heard in that interview is probably what you like to hear. Justin, he only took trips to Auburn and Texas. He's been an Auburn commit since February, but the Longhorns are obviously in pursuit of him, and it sounds like he likes what the Longhorns have told him enough to where this process could drag out over the course of the next few months, even all the way up to signing day.
Yeah, this is the type of recruit that you stash and let it just marinate a little bit. Just let it cook a little bit, because nothing's going to happen now or tomorrow or the next day, theoretically. And so just play the long game. You set the floor with the great visit. He's committed to Auburn, so that's your target. And so the fact that you get him on campus now, he enjoys it. Get him back for a game. Get him back in DKR for that atmosphere. Let him see some of the stuff with the players, the team, the pomp, the circumstance that goes on those Saturdays, and just play the long game. They're in a good spot with a handful of DBs, one that we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. And so with Devin, there's no reason to push or pressure. They laid the floor. They're in a good spot. Just play the long game. You never know how this season's going to go. If Auburn dives into the ocean, that Texas becomes a little bit more enticing. And I think Williams is a type of kid that you might save a spot in your class in case he decides to flip in a November, early December type window. So this is a perfect example of a Sark recruitment. You build a relationship, you get him on campus, you wine and dine him. He really likes everything, and you don't push. Hey, we'll be here. You go enjoy yourself. Go have a fun senior year. Get better, work hard, grind, do what you do. Enjoy that commitment. We're going to keep calling you. We're going to stay. We're going to check in on you. We're going to keep touching base. Come see us this fall for a game. And then let's really get down to the nitty gritty in November, December.
On3 lists him at 5'9.5", 160. I'm right at 6 foot, luckily enough, and I think he's closer to my height than 5'9".
He looks a little bit taller than I think we expected.
Yeah, and I think 160 makes sense. From Buford, same high school as Isaiah Bond. I asked him, wasn't part of that interview on camera, but I asked him, hey, did you talk to Isaiah? I'm not sure if Bond was in town this past weekend. May have been, may have not have been. If so, he may not have been hanging with a corner too much, but he communicates with Isaiah Bond. Gavin Holmes was his host there over the course of the weekend. So another guy from the Southeast talking to him. Last thing to talk about is an upcoming decision. Justin, Aidan Anding out of Ruston, on the heels of his official visit, told you he plans to decide really soon in the upcoming weekend before the calendar turns to July, correct?
Yeah, he said next weekend, which was on Sunday. So theoretically, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday in that range. Aiden's ready. Aiden's family's ready. I think Aiden's had a pretty good idea where he was going to go for the last 3 or 4 months. This official visit may have been the icing on the cake, because he'd already been through before. His whole family got to make this trip, and I know that was important. And listen, again, Miami, Arkansas, a handful of schools were in the mix, but LSU's been coming on of late, and I think it's significant that he basically told LSU, I've been getting close with Texas for a long time. Like, this, it's not too little, too late. I think he's going to listen to their pitch, but this kid really likes Texas, guys. Like, I'd be surprised if it's another school. And he's one of those wiry, rangy type guys, multi-sport guys that really, to me, he reminds me of an Ennis Rakestraw out of Duncanville that played at Missouri. He's got that frame, and he's got that mindset that no matter how, you might think, oh, they're a little skinny, and they come up and they fight like dogs. Like they get after it. And that's what Anding does. And give Terry Joseph a ton of credit. Great early evaluation, but we're expecting a decision this weekend from Aidan. I really like where Texas stands right now.
Coach, with Caleb Chester already in the fold, with Aidan Anding, that seems to give a nice floor for a class at cornerback, especially as they shoot the moon for some other guys like versatile defensive back Cade Phillips, and also near 5-star, if not 5-star, Dorian Brew as well.
Yeah, definitely. When I first saw Anding State, I was like, this type of kid that normally probably would go to TCU, and he can play every position in the secondary. Like, he's super versatile, right? And I feel like he can play mid, he can play corner, he can play safety, he can do it all. I know you said Ennis Rakestraw, but this guy, he's a 3-sport athlete. He also can return kicks. Like, when I saw him, he's just that player that just, you can put anywhere, he's going to make a play. Just like Tyrann Mathieu. I'm not saying he's Tyrann Mathieu, but he just had that special ability. Like, he can do it all. Like, he can blitz. He can do it all. Like, and so that's what I kind of saw in him. But I think this class has a lot of versatile DBs, and that's really what you want, because you match up to any offense if you do that, right? You don't have to pigeonhole a guy, say, hey, you're just a boundary corner, you're just a field corner, you're just a free safety, a strong safety. Guys who can kind of rotate and move around and do multiple things gives you so much you can do in the secondary. Kind of reminds you of the old class of 2005 National Championship team. Those guys are very versatile. They do a lot. They can play man and zone. You never know who was covering who, right? You just switch up depending on matchups, right? You never felt like you were beat or out of position. So it's a very versatile class, and I feel like that's what this group is bringing to the table.
Absolutely. We'll have so much more coverage, not just on Devin Williams, not just on Aidan Anding, but on everything Texas football recruiting over at Inside Texas. Make sure you head to Inside Texas, use the promo code IT1, get you 2 months of Inside Texas for $1. You sign up today on June 25th. Man, that gets you to August 25th, and by that time, you will be 6 days away from kickoff. Case McCoy, days away. Quandre Diggs, days away from kickoff. So head to Inside Texas, use that promo code, get the recruiting intel, get the team coverage, get everything SEC related, as that happens in just a few days. Make sure to like our video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 8,000 subscribers. And if you're listening on podcasts, thank you. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating and a review. Thank you to Laura Baker. Coach, Justin, thank y'all so much. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.